A lark and her momster are coming your way. Gonna tell it how it is, so won't you join us today? Ooh. It's not Halloween, but it is for us all the time. Hello, and welcome back to A Lark and Her Momster. I am the lark.
And I'm the monster.
You are indeed. And today's episode, we are naming Echoes from the Other Side. And if I knew how to edit things, I would make that sound epic as shit. But
You mean like echo, echo, echo,
no,
echo?
like echo, like spooky, like reverberated, like disembodied.
Echo. Like that?
No, I don't know what that is, but it's something. But today we are, yes, this is indeed an episode about echoes from the other side. But before we hop on in, or haunt on in,
I was going to go, what does hopping have to do with...
I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
What would you do? You would...
Haunt on in.
Or you would... What is it when you just appear?
Appear?
No, there's a word for it. I can't think of the word. Anyway,
What?
morph
No,
on
no,
in.
you're not morphing, because you're not, I mean, unless you morph into something, like if you morph into a wolf, so that doesn't, if you, materialize.
Yes!
Oh, there you go, materialize.
materialize.
On in.
But you can morph in there.
You can also
too.
haunt on in there.
You can morph.
You can haunt it too.
Or morph.
Okay, we're moving on.
Okay.
Awesome. So, before we do, today's wine is...
Do epic shit!
Do epic shit sparkling wine, American Methode Champenoise, or Methode Champenoise, depending on how
Say
you
it.
pronounce it.
Say it with a French accent. You were doing
I was doing
French
I was.
really well for a while. Why'd
Uh-huh.
you stop?
Because life.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
Thank you. So were the people in Germany and the Strasbourg. Yeah.
Yeah, but you started really doing it more intensely when we got back.
No, I was doing it really more intensely before that. But
Oh,
that's not what this podcast episode is about. So let's move on, shall we?
Okay.
Okay, cool.
But I was going to have you say it with a French
American
accent.
Methode Champenoise. Okay, there you go.
Say it again.
American Methode Champenoise.
Oh, that's very good.
Oui, merci. Okay, so this is from the Browne Family Vineyards. The finish is clean and sophisticated with a subtle minerality, lingering impressions of toasted hazelnuts, revealing enticing aromas of green apple, lemon zest, and ripe pear, intertwined with notes of brioche, toasted almond, and a hint of white flowers. I've never tasted white flowers, but if this is what they taste like, it's quite nice.
And it's all red to the background of your dog slurping
Yes,
the
it
water.
is. It is so all red. With hopefully you can't hear that, but if you can, at least it's melodic.
Because she goes, drink, drink, drink.
Drink,
Drink, drink, drink.
drink, drink, drink. Drink, drink, drink. Yes, it's very. It's at least it's got to be. It was also the same time that the dryer went off, so there was just lots of melodies happening in the background.
Ah, I wonder if that's a message from beyond.
I don't know.
Yeah, the drink, 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 ding. Drink, 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 ding. No? Okay.
Cool.
Anyway, so we've had a couple of really intense episodes, and, we just want to once again acknowledge the pain and grief that are felt by so many. And yet, you can only have so much pain and grief in life before you have to move on and have some respite from it. So today's episode, we wanted to do something a little bit more
Fun.
Yeah.
But also, what's interesting is not only is this fun, but it can also be really meaningful, because when people experience messages from the other side, those messages can also be from loved ones who've passed, or pets who've passed, or, just different experiences. So it can also be not just fun, but also very meaningful. What are you doing?
I just remembered something I wanted to add, and I was
You can't
trying
find a pen, can you? All right. Hold for finding pens. 1 second. We're back. We found a pen.
Who found the pen?
You found the pen.
That's right.
I told you it
found
was in there, though.
Yeah, you did.
So, what we thought we would talk about our individual and collective experience with, again...
Experienced?
Shut up. We thought we would talk about our... I can't
Individual
rewind
and
it.
collective experiences
with unexplained phenomena.
Most of us have had, I think, moments of deja vu, right?
Right.
I know you've had deja vu because you've got, oh my God, I've been here before.
Or I've had very
seen them before.
prophetic dreams before, too.
And we've all kind of felt presences, just different energies.
Yeah.
And I think for us, our fascination with this comes from being originally from New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. It's the place of, like, hoodoo, voodoo, hauntings, the mystical, witches, everything. I mean, it's a magical, mystical place, and everywhere you turn, I remember walking through the quarter one day, and there was a for rent sign, and it said, "For rent, please note house is haunted." And, and I was like, can they all do that?
That increases the value.
Well, okay, yes, and I heard that they're actually supposed to do that if someone has died in the house, or if there have been actual hauntings, they are supposed to disclose that. Yeah. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I lived in the French Quarter on Burgundy because, like we talked about in the New Orleans episode, we butchered the languages. Anyway, and I lived on the 3rd floor in what was probably the servants' quarters. It wasn't. There was a back section that opened onto a courtyard, and this building was probably at one point part of a larger home, right? But I lived on the 3rd floor. It had very low ceilings. It had brick walls. Ooh. It was very, very cool.
Sounds like it.
It had a kitchen that's even smaller than the kitchen I have now.
Didn't think possible.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it was so narrow that you had to walk in sideways.
You did tell me that you'd have to like duck, or you'd have people visit who would have to like
duck.
Duck.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. Very, very kitschy. And at night, I would sit in my living room, and I could hear the sounds of things that I wasn't real sure what they were. And now, mind you, I could hear things that I knew what they were. I knew the sound of scurrying cockroaches across the ceiling in mass volumes, because when I use the sweater shaver...
It's a different kind of PTSD, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, but I would use the sweater shaver, and I could hear, like... It's just weird. So when I'd stop, it would stop. So I'm assuming it was the roaches, but who knows? Anyway, and I think I mentioned in that episode the kind of melodic sense of closing your eyes in that place and listening to the horses go back to the carriage houses.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was just a really cool place, but there were many times living there that I knew I wasn't alone.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't alone. And it was kind of, I never felt anything negative. But it was just kind of like...
There's something.
I just embraced it.
Yeah.
Talked to them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My cats definitely would... I could tell when they were feeling like something else was there. But
oh, do you remember just thinking of animals noticing when things are there? Britt and I lived in a house, and this has nothing to do with New Orleans. Britt and I lived in a house in Nashville, and I always felt there was something there. I couldn't tell what it was, but I always thought there was something there. And I had a dog, Rue, at the time, who would jump off my bed. Like, he was completely asleep, would jump off my bed, go and sit in the corner and stare at the corner, and just, like, wag his tail.
No!
And Britt and I would just be like, no, stop it. Like, we don't, it's cute, but also maybe not. Maybe you shouldn't go, stop it. You know? And he would do it a lot. And I remember once he came in, Britt and I were watching something, and he just trots on and goes to the corner. And I mean, he is focused on this corner and sits there and just stares at it and just cocks his head. And I remember Britt looking at me and being like, no. And it didn't feel malevolent or anything. And at times it was cute because he'd roll over and it looked like he was like getting his belly scratched or something. So it always felt...
his tail was wagging.
Right, no, it always felt fine. But I was just always like, you definitely see something. I don't, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, and when we think of déjà vu, which I personally feel like, I do think, and I know a lot of people don't believe in this, but I believe in past lives. And I feel like
same.
Déjà vu is our ability to kind of recollect what's occurred in past lives.
Or even other dimensions or realms, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't know what's out there.
We don't know.
We really don't.
That's what makes it so cool and mysterious.
But a lot of people don't believe in that. So I looked up what déjà vu, where it came from, what it means in terms of science today, and just for a little bit of information for whatever it's worth.
We'll give some of y'all the doubters some science behind our,
Well, then that would mean they're really doubters because the science supports their doubting.
Oh, well.
Anyway, but we'll give them some history.
Sure, that too. Okay,
that too.
Yeah.
So the first,
although I just gotta say, I feel like science and supernatural work well together.
Well, they can.
In a way. They can. Yeah.
Just like religion and science can work well together.
Exactly, as we know by
the supernatural. Yeah,
Philomena Kunk. Yes.
She's
not a real person, but if you guys haven't watched it,
hysterical.
We recommend.
I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. Anyway, déjà vu was first used by Emile Boirac in 1876.
Let's not butcher his name. Okay, now you can hear the other dog drinking water, and it's not melodic at all. Let's not butcher his name.
You say it then.
Emile Boirac.
Boirac?
Boirac.
Okay. I'll let it. Anyway, this gentleman
in 1876,
who was a French philosopher, wrote a book, and
do you want me to say it?
In 1876, in English, the name of the book is "The Future of the Psychic Sciences." You can say it in French.
L'avenir des sciences.
You left out a word.
L'avenir des sciences. Oh, physics. Sorry, you guys. I had a Philomena Kunk moment where I didn't read the entire anything.
Yeah. So, and in the book, he shared how the mind feels the sense of having been somewhere or met someone or experienced a situation before, and that this is related to the brain. And science today tells us it's brain-based, not psychic. That it's basically like a glitch in the matrix. It's like the brain is like the synapses are misfiring together.
Which, if they think that the brain can have glitches in the matrix, then they should absolutely believe that our realm can have glitches in the matrix, because I've experienced them, and I will explain one later.
Yeah, it's funny because I have always believed in that. The ghostly presences. I can remember growing up and going to Laurel, Mississippi, in my great aunt Pat's house, which, by the way, was one of our family homes featured in Hometown, which is based in Laurel, Mississippi.
And if you don't know, that's a show on HGTV, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. Okay. And hearing the stories and feeling the sense of not being alone. And in Aunt Pat's bathroom in particularly, the idea that the toothbrush would move. Or
fly across the bathroom.
Or fly across the bathroom, right. Exactly. I think you heard that story from your Gami.
I heard it from you, and then Gami just validated it.
Oh, was that what it was?
And then I remember I always felt a presence in the playroom and also in the room that we slept in. And I remember having a friend, and you would be like,
Who are you talking
You'd
to?
be like, who are you talking to? But you were for sure, you always validated. You're like, there's somebody else or a few other people that are here. And it definitely never felt just like one person. It felt very, very habitated is not the word because I don't think it's a word, but.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. It felt very lived in by other things that weren't us.
Yeah, but never anything negative.
No, never anything negative. No.
And anyway, so having grown up as a child and hearing those stories and being exposed to that, it certainly, I think, reinforced my sense of curiosity around the mysterious or the unknown, or a willingness to acknowledge that there are things that we don't understand that can potentially live in the universe with us. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so I've always been very open-minded, and of course, being from New Orleans.
And you raised me that way. I mean, I will not forget, we used to, you were friends with witches. You were friends with readers, and I would go to their houses, and you would have readings done, and I would play with their crow lily. That was just one. That wasn't in New Orleans, but I just remember that one.
Oh, that particular one. That was in
They had a crow named Lily.
That was in Venice.
Yeah, they had and they had a crow named Lily, and
Yeah.
I used to play the Harry Potter game with Lily.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you were really little in New Orleans, I used to go to a woman's house who lived...
actually remember.
Yeah, and she had this very cool, old, very eclectic house. And
lots of cool books from what I remember.
Yeah, in the Bywater area. And we'd have readings. And that's, I mean, I'll never forget, because it would not have dawned on me. She's the first person who, when I mentioned the possibility of moving, she said, yeah, you're going to buy a house. And I was like, I can't afford to buy a house. She goes, no.
Right.
And you're going to see 3 options, and you're going to pick one. It's going to be the first one that you went to.
Interesting.
And then, those readings come up, and then they go out of your mind.
Right, exactly.
And you know what? It happened.
Yeah.
I saw 3 houses, and it was the first one I saw.
So I love that you bring up readings, because you've done them. I've done them. I've always been told that I have psychic connections, things like that. And I actually had a mentor who taught me how to connect or listen. I'm more clairaudient than I am visual. While I have seen things, I hear things. I hear people, or I hear voices. And I will never forget. It was, not only was it validating, but it gave me goosebumps. I was reading, actually, this was here in Nashville. I was doing a reading at an event. I can't remember what it was called, but it was for the Tri-Luna team, which they were fantastic. And I was reading for a woman, and she was like, I'm with this guy. I don't think I can get pregnant without him. I was told I could never get pregnant. So I did a reading for her, and I just remember hearing someone say, she will, but not with him. And for me to even utter those words, you will, but it's not going to be with him. And someone has told her, a doctor has told her she's not going to get pregnant. And I remember saying that, thinking oh shit, I've just given someone hope, and that could be completely wrong. And I will never forget, 6 months later, she sent me a message on Instagram, and she was like, hey, I just want to let you know I've started IVF, broke up with the guy, and I'm a month pregnant. And I just remember I still have goosebumps and thinking thank God that message came through. I don't know who it was from, but they had whoever I channeled had such conviction that don't worry, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And that was just, I was like, if I wasn't a full believer before, I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll never forget going with a friend of mine in LA for her reading, and I'm sitting outside. She's in having a reading, and I'm sitting next to someone who is a medium, it turned out. But I didn't know that. I'm just sitting next to her, and we're sitting there looking at her dog, just kind of being chill.
Yeah.
And she looks at me and she said, there's someone who's trying to tell you something. And I said, what? And she said, yeah. And she wants you to know that she's okay. And I'm like, what?
You're like, who could this be?
And she goes, it's someone who loves cherries. And I had no clue. Literally no clue. So afterwards, it was probably later that night, I was talking to Yurgami because I talked to her probably 2 or 3 times a day, sometimes more.
Same, you and me do the same thing.
And I'm talking to her and I'm telling her about the situation. And she kind of goes, when I tell her about the cherries. And she goes, your grandmother loved cherries. Cherry ice cream, cherry anything, cherry candy,
wow.
cherry. I didn't know that about Gapi.
Yeah.
I didn't know
also,
any of that.
That did not get passed down to us.
No, definitely didn't.
Love that she loved cherries, but I can't stand cherries.
No,
but I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And so, after that, I was like, I was floored. Another experience that I had after Yurgami died, I had, she had given me her jewelry, but I couldn't find her pearls. I could not find her pearls or her pearl earrings.
I remember you talking to me about that.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I was getting ready to go back, fly back into New Orleans and clean out her things. And I went to see a woman in LA. I'll never forget her. She did the reading in her backyard. We're sitting there, and she says, I asked her, I said, do you have any idea where I can find my mom's pearls? And she said, they're in a small white pouch. She goes, I don't know what kind of pouch they're in, but it's white. And they're going to be, is it a jewelry pouch maybe? I don't know, but it's a white pouch. And so I got back. I'm going through all of Yurgami's things.
Probably not even, obviously not thinking about that reading, just, because you're so immersed.
No, I am thinking of that.
Oh, really?
I was thinking of the reading. I'm looking in her jewelry box. I'm looking at all of the things, looking for the white pouch, and there's nothing. And then when I started going through her clothes, I got to her sock drawer. They were in her socks.
White socks, yeah.
They were in her socks. I'd have just taken all the socks and put them for Goodwill.
Yep.
It would have never dawned on me, never in a million years, to have opened, because she took both socks and rolled them up into a ball.
Because she's smart. Yeah.
Inside out.
Right.
Never would have opened up those socks in a million years.
Wow.
If that woman had not told me to look for them in
a white
pouch.
Right. Wow.
Isn't that bizarre?
That is bizarre. I do remember you telling me that now that you're talking about it. That is, but yeah, that's why I believe that. I know it's also why I second guess my dreams sometimes, because I've had dreams that have come true. Whether it's déjà vu, glitch in the matrix, whatever, seeing things that have happened. I think a couple of people experience this where they have dreams that come true. Or, they're like, I have been here before, or they hear someone tell them something, and it's like the
quantum physics tells you,
or third man syndrome, right?
You can visualize what you want to happen,
right? Have happen, right? And then there's like third man syndrome, where people are like, I swear, had it not been for my father getting me through this, or whoever has passed telling me that I can survive this, I wouldn't have, know? And it's like, I genuinely think that there are people, there are angels, whatever you want to call them, spirits, angels, whatever. I believe that.
I think they're angels.
I think so too. I mean, I believe we have them. I remember that I still believe in one that I have who since I was a kid, right, was always Charlie. Yeah. And that
was a little freaky. I remember Charlie.
Right. And Charlie was never like a negative feeling. It was always just like someone that was just there, just watching over me. And I would ask Charlie, I was like, can you go watch over this person? Like, I feel okay. Can you go do this? And then I would kind of feel him separate and then come back. But never has Charlie ever left me. And I don't know, like why the name Charlie, but just always. But it's interesting because I think some of us are just more attuned to kind of the supernatural or things that are weird or some people call it morbid, or some people just, call it the unknown, but there are many who are just more attuned to it. I think it's people who are open to it.
Yeah. I have a friend, Jen. She doesn't live in LA anymore. She and her husband moved up to Washington State, but and they live in an area that seems really cool. Anyway, but when Yorigami was going through the dying process, and
Right.
after she died, I would go to Jen's home, and she did Reiki on me
Right.
because Reiki is a proven method to kind of move energy, negative energy out.
Out of the body, right?
Right.
I
And
know, I'm Reiki certified.
so am I, but
Right.
I don't do it.
Same. I
Even on
probably
myself,
should.
even though I could.
I actually really want to do it on animals. That's a goal.
Anyway, well, I shouldn't say I'm completely certified. I got through Reiki 2. I still have to do Reiki 3.
No, there's just Reiki 1 and 2.
Oh,
Yeah, so you're fully Reiki certified.
Am I?
It's same.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I
Same.
thought there was a third one. Anyway.
No, you're good.
But I can remember I'm laying on the table with Jen doing some Reiki on me. And she did Reiki and massage at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm laying on the table, face down on the table. Now, Jen had never met my mother.
Mm-hmm.
She had not seen any photos of Yorigami. She
Right.
had not, there was nothing in there that would have given her some information in advance.
Right.
And she says to me, I don't know why, but I think your mom is here.
Oh, wow.
And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, there's a woman here. She has really short, kind of blonde hair.
Mm-hmm.
She's tiny. And she says, and she's wearing white tennis shoes. And
wow.
and I just was like, what? And she goes, yeah, she's here. She's not saying anything, but she's here.
Yeah.
It's like she's watching over you. And then it went away. And, but, unless you knew my mother, Yorigami,
Mm-hmm.
The last probably year and a half, definitely year of her life, all she wore was white tennis shoes.
Right. Yeah.
Because the chemo was causing her to have some issues with feeling in her feet,
Right.
and she was struggling with some of that. And anyway, and she was so thin, so tiny.
She was, yeah.
That last
But I gotta
really
say,
6 months.
I've never talk about somebody that is dying and knows it and just still smiles at you and holds you and hugs you and tells you they love you.
Oh yeah.
Even if it doesn't make sense. I remember her saying something about like my hair, I can't remember, but just the most positive person going through every single thing. And I still think she watches over us. I know sometimes you kind of say that you can't always feel her, but there are times when I definitely can. There are times when I haven't...
You're talking about this, I'm pouring more wine.
Yes. Well, there are times when I have thought to myself, things like... Just things like, I don't know if I can get out of this situation or if I should get out of this situation. And sometimes I can just hear her being like, no, your mom didn't raise you like that, or, you're stronger than that. And so,
Yeah.
And I will never forget, what was it, 2 Christmases ago? Not this Christmas, but last Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
We were having just a moment. You were helping me hang something in my room and we were laughing. And I know you and I had kind of gone through just a lot from trauma that I had endured the year before, and I really just opened up about it to you, kind of that in the last 6 months, and so we were kind of building our bond again. And I will never forget getting a call from her.
Oh,
She
yeah.
called you. She called us.
Yeah.
It was and.
Because it's still on my phone. It still says
It
Mom.
still says, yeah, it still says Mom on your phone.
And no one was there.
No one was there. We answered, yeah, no one was there.
Yeah.
It was just...
Sometimes my phone will just dial her number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, just checking in, just letting you know that I'm with you guys, you know?
Speaking of people who enjoyed things that were kind of macabre or different, what was that? That was a poem she used to always
Oh my
tell
God.
about.
Okay. So y'all, my grandmother knew, she knew. She did, and it was always in fun. It was always in fun.
Was it?
I don't know. But she knew how to spook the hell out of you. And I remember she had taken me and my grandfather, we had gone to this play, and it was like a Dracula play, and I was really young, probably 7 or 8, I can't remember, but I knew that they were in the Chattanooga house at the time. And I was spooked, right? Because I was little, like, that was a cool play, but don't bite me, you know?
Right.
So, and I remember the
Well, I grew up watching Dark Shadows.
Right.
So I still sleep with the blankets around my neck and my shoulders up too, so the vampires don't get me.
So, but I remember my closet was open just a little bit, and I always had a weird thing about my closet door being open. It always has to be closed. But I asked her, I was like, can you close the closet door? And she goes, why? You think something's gonna come out and get you? And I, I was like, no, I just want it closed. And so she closed it, and I was like, thank you. And the light was off. And as she exits my room and closes the door, she goes, ooh.
She loved doing that.
It was just the door. Forever laughing and slightly traumatized. But she used to recite.
Recite.
She knew this
poem
poem by heart. And it was, I'll read y'all a little of it. It was called Little Orphan Annie. And the way she did it was just, I don't know, it gives you the shivers. I can't even recite it the way she did.
No.
But it's a poem to kind of make kids behave, right?
Yeah.
And she probably did it to you, she did it to me. But I remember, like, if I ever was doing something that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing, all of a sudden, she would say, you don't want to end up like little orphan Annie. And what? What's that? She goes, well, little orphan Annie. She doesn't even preface it with anything, right? Just starts it. Like, not, this is no. Just starts it, well, little orphan Annie comes to our house to stay and wash the cups and saucers and brush up the crumbs away and shoo the chickens off the porch and dust the hearth and sweep and make the fire and bake the bread and earn her board and keep. And all us other children, when the supper things is done, we set around the kitchen fire and has us the mostest fun, and listening to the witches' tales that Annie tells about, and the goblins'll eat ya if you can't watch out. Once they was a little boy, wouldn't say his prayers, so when he went to bed at night, away up the stairs, his mammy heard him holler and his daddy heard him howl, and when they turned the kivers down, he wasn't there at all. And they seeked him in the rafter room and cubby hole and press, and seeked him up the chimney flue and everywhere, I guess. But all they ever found was this his pants and roundabout, and the goblins'll eat you if you don't watch out.
Who wrote that?
I don't know.
What does it say?
I just copied and pasted it.
Look it up.
I should look
and
it
what's
up.
really funny
But
is
she knew
that's
every
not
word.
But she didn't recite it exactly that. She would say the goblins will get you.
You'll get you. And she would say, like, came to our house.
Right.
Not, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like, why would they come to you? I don't like this. Yeah.
No, but she, and I think it was your great-great-grandmother who recited it to her, because it wasn't your great-grandmother. I'm pretty sure it was Pearl Rush Payne.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Who recited it to her, because she was so pivotal.
So it was James Whitcomb Riley. He was 1849 to 1916 was his life.
Yeah.
So I don't know when he wrote it, but gosh darn you, James.
Yeah.
Whitcomb
and she
Riley.
knew. She would say it, and the goblins will get you if you don't
watch out.
I mean, she whispered that
Oh,
part.
yeah. I mean, it was...
Yeah. So, yes, I think we definitely grew up with lots of spookiness. And even in our travels.
Oh, in our travels. And
I mean, going to Edinburgh. And
oh, yeah.
going on the ghost... And my favorite thing in any city is to go on a ghost tour.
You were so proud of me. I was 10, and we were in Edinburgh. It was for Mom's 40th birthday. And she would either get a tattoo, or I was like, you can't do that. Funny enough, I'm covered in them now. Or she could go to Europe. So we went to Europe.
Well, no, I gave your Gami a choice.
Oh, yeah, no, she wasn't going to let you get a tattoo.
And I said, I can either get a tattoo, Mom, or we can go to Europe. Well, and I didn't say Europe. I think I said we can go to England, but we ended up going to Paris as well.
As well as Scotland.
But
England,
it was a girls' trip, so it was
much fun.
And me and her. And
if y'all will remember from a past episode, it was the same trip where my grandmother peed her pants because I was so scared.
And now you know why.
Yes. As she peed herself laughing at my fear. So I will never forget how proud you were, because I was 10 at the time, and we were on this
went on a ghost tour of Edinburgh.
And what's funny is I wasn't certain about it. I was like, no. Like, my grandmother raised me. Ghosts are scary. Things are scary. But you also raised me on, Brothers Grimm and different things and fairy tales that, weren't your traditional fairy tales. So anyway, we go on this ghost tour. And the guide and I became instant friends because he would ask these questions. And I can't remember the questions exactly. But who answered all of them correctly?
You did, because you were and have always been a person who is curious, and that inquisitive nature means that you dig in and do the research, and you were going to find all of those answers out in advance.
And what's interesting is that some of them I didn't. I mean, I knew the Gardelou in advance, right? But the one where the very first question he asked had something to do with a cemetery. And he's like, does anybody know, like, what this church was connected to or what this castle was connected to? And nobody answered. And I just slowly raised my hand and I was like, a cemetery? And he was like, yes. And then from that point on, I was like his little buddy.
And we went down into in
France they're the catacombs. In Scotland they are the... You're having trouble figuring out the word too, but that's why you looked at me. Vaults.
Yes.
The vaults. And you know what's so weird? So I had one experience when I was 10, because we went to the same vaults later on in my life when I graduated from college.
University.
We
call it university.
In yes.
England.
So I had one experience as a child, and I had the exact same experience when I was in my 20s, like 10 years later, but kind of different. So as a child, he was telling this story about this little boy who would sometimes come around and hold your hand, and I remember feeling my hand get really cold, and not in like a weird way, but just like a comforting way. It was like a okay. And I also remember hearing a man say, "Get out." And when the man said "get out," that's when my hand got cold. And he was telling the story about the little boy who liked to comfort people. And I will never forget that. But I will also never forget the sound of the "get out." And that's when I went and left everybody else and I went to stand by the guide.
And you did.
And I did. And
the rest of the tour.
I was like, I shall get out. Thank you very much. And I'll come back. But so later, when we came back to visit these same vaults, different guide, of course. And we went through the ghost tour. And I didn't hear anything. I didn't even think about this, but I didn't hear anything throughout the tour that time. But when we got back to the hotel, I remember waking up because I heard someone say, "Get out, get out," like the same way. And I got so scared. And I remember telling him, "No, you can't come with me. Sorry, you got to go back. Nope, can't come with me, got to go back." Haven't heard it ever since. But it was just kind of like that weird, like...
Yeah, you gotta have some control.
You gotta have some control, and also sometimes I think things remember you.
Well, that's true.
You
We
know?
don't know what energies are out there that can
don't.
attach. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll never forget when we went to Dublin while you were at university. We took a little trip. By the way, don't ever go to Ireland during Easter.
Not during Easter or Good Friday or any of those.
Yeah, that's not a good time to go.
No.
If you want to have fun on that Sunday. Anyway, because everything closes, which makes sense.
They close from Thursday to Sunday.
It was, some things, yes. Some things, not so much. But anyway, and we went on a tour. I mean, tours didn't close except for that Sunday, but we went on a tour of the old jail.
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember that.
And how, they had people burned there.
Oh, yeah.
And it was interesting. There was a certain point
you could feel
the heat.
Yeah.
And it was
freezing that night.
It was so cold.
And there's no way that someone could have
But not everybody felt it.
No, but there was a few. You felt it, I felt it, and one other girl felt it.
Yeah.
And it was he was like, did you feel it? And it was like, oh yeah. And it was just in one spot.
Yeah. It was just really very, very fascinating.
Yeah.
And, yes, the mind can control a lot, but I was actually at a point when we were on that trip where I wasn't even thinking. I was thinking it was kind of entertaining. I wasn't thinking I was going to feel anything. And yet I had the feeling.
Yeah.
And then we went to that really cool pub at the end.
Oh, that pub was haunted as fuck.
Yeah, that was really fun too.
Yeah, it was. That pub definitely had some interesting characters, I think, that lingered past their time.
Definitely. Definitely. And so I think when it comes to psychic phenomena and things that we don't understand, it's important to kind of keep your mind open.
Yeah.
Because again, I never would have found your Gami's pearls.
I know.
If I hadn't had the reading that said to look for them in the white pouch.
Yep.
And this woman had no connection to anyone in my life. I found out about her through a friend of a friend of a friend. And just happened to know she was a medium. Went to her. There was nothing related to anything on my social media back then.
Right. I remember.
And for her to say, look, they're in a white pouch. And for me to find them in her socks.
Yeah.
That were white.
Yeah.
In the drawer. Anyway, it's just a reminder.
Keep an open mind. And I know sometimes people, a big topic is, what happens beyond, right? Like what happens beyond. We don't know. But I also think it's important to, if it brings you a level of comfort, if it brings you something to hold on to, like that.
Whether you think of it as heaven, whether you think of it as reincarnation, whatever it might be, if it brings you that sense of peace, then go for it.
Go for it. Yeah.
Go for it.
And always, I like to think of it as having faith, right? A lot of people say well, I don't believe in what I can't see, but
we can't see a lot.
Time, we can't see atoms. Oh my God, Philomena Kunk. Not to make this funny, but Philomena Kunk. If you guys watch Kunk on Life or Kunk on Earth, you'll understand. But she asked this.
Philomena Kunk is not a real person.
No, it's not a real person. It's a character. But I love that she asks this. She's interviewed experts in the science, in science, in theology, in history, and she's interviewing this expert in science, and she's saying, well, but if you don't
see atoms,
how can they exist?
Right.
And he's like, well, they just do, and it's like she's like, well, all right though, so then then other things can exist that you don't see. But my favorite thing she said, and I may this not offend anybody, but I thought it was hilarious. She's asking a theology expert. She says, so does God have a brother Simon? And he goes, no. And she goes, right, but you said that you can't see God, so you just kind of believe in him. So why can't he have a brother named Simon if you can't see him? I was like, maybe he does. Who knows? But But we hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode.
And we would love for you to share any of your own experiences
with the beyond, the supernatural, the mysterious.
The echoes from the other side.
Yes, the echoes from the other side. Please let us know. We would love to hear from you. You can always text us at Apple Podcasts. There is a link to text us. You can also email us at... Email us.
Can they text us on Apple Podcasts?
They can. Yes, they can.
They can text?
They can text us.
It's not a message?
No, they can send us a text.
Oh.
I will get it.
You get the text.
I sure do.
Oh, very cool.
I know.
I'm going to start texting you there.
No, don't do that.
Okay.
Okay, that'll be confusing.
I will.
So... I'll get a text and I'll be like, "Hi, this is me from the other side."
Yeah, exactly.
Hello from the... Anyway, not to go to Dell. So, thank you.
You can send us a message.
You can send us a message at... You can also email us at larkandmoster@gmail.com about your experiences, and we would love to hear from you. And if you have any topic ideas, please send them in.
And don't forget to...
rate, review, subscribe, and... share, because sharing is caring.
That's right.
And it can be fun.
That's right.
Thank y'all for listening in.
Ooh,
I love that you did that because I thought about it too. Bye.
Bye.